But maybe I'll just start by saying thanks so much to GSBI. I think it's been a really inspiring week working with so many awesome entrepreneurs and really tremendous faculty, so thank you. I'll jump right into Komaza, though. Komaza is a forestry company working to get dryland farmers out of poverty. Dryland farmers are the poorest people on Earth, with the lowest incomes, highest birth rates, highest child mortality, and lots of other scary statistics. But they do have one asset. They own a lot of land. Unfortunately, it's also some of the worst land on Earth. And if you're a farmer, it's very hard to grow food on bad soils to get low rainfall. To make matters worse, they survive by chopping down trees to make charcoal, to earn income, and this further erodes the soil fertility, making it even harder to farm, making it even more necessary to chop down charcoal, and it's a vicious poverty trap. So Komaza works to get farmers out of this poverty trap by connecting them to Africa's multi-billion-dollar wood markets that are in a complete state of crisis. Africa currently consumes more wood than every other region on Earth. And this is going to nearly double in the next 15 years, driven by population growth, GDP growth, urbanization. It's set to boom for decades. Currently, 90% of this wood comes from the Congo. There are two problems with this. One, the Congo is very far from most cities where wood is consumed. And two, it's being unsustainably deforested at a truly alarming rate. Currently, about 3.5 million hectares per year lost. That's doubling in the next 2 decades. What that translates to is 2 California's worth of trees gone in the next 16 years. Scary stuff. If Tim Draper gets his way, those are 12 Californias gone in the next 16 years. Let's hope that doesn't happen. So charcoal is one of the worst insidious products in the world. Kenya's market's currently about $500 million. These are 3 men pushing 3 indigenous trees from the rural villages into the cities and towns where people are cooking every meal on it. And because the tree supply is vanishing quickly, charcoal prices have tripled in the last 8 years. It's incredibly inelastic to price. You have to cook every day, so it doesn't matter what the cost is. You're going to buy it. So these prices are going to continue to boom for decades to come. Another big product, of course, is small roundwood. Everyone in East Africa mostly lives in a mud hut. And this is made from a few hundred small poles. This is considered a waste product to most forestry companies in the world, but it's a fairly high-value product in this market. Medium-sized poles for fence posts, construction, another big, easy market. Large poles for the vast amount of electrification that's going to take place in Africa in the next 50 years. And of course, sawn lumber for beds, tables, chairs, window frames, construction, booming for the next several generations. All of this adds up to truly vast amounts of wood. In Kenya alone, we're targeting markets over $1 billion, and there are several wood markets left out, so it's a bigger number than that. So Komaza connects the dots by helping local farmers grow trees to serve local markets. The forestry value chain is pretty straightforward and has worked for hundreds of years. But there's one big problem in East Africa. The land for big plantations does not exist. It's been settled. People are living on it. So there's a big land constraint. Where can we grow these trees? Komaza's innovation is pretty straightforward. We aggregate thousands of small farmers to get the land needed to grow the trees. There are lots of other awesome benefits. Because we get the land for free, because the farmers provide the labor for free, we're able to put a tree in the ground for less money than a big plantation. So we're already out-competing them on cost. We also have no fire risk. The trees are spread apart. Farmers are very close to markets, reducing transport costs, and communities love it, which is a real competitive advantage in the forestry world. So the value chain itself is pretty straightforward and boring. You put trees in the ground, you wait for them to grow, you chop them down, you throw them through a sawmill, you sell some wood. It turns into a lot of money at the end of the day. Over the last 6 years, we've planted 1.6 million trees with nearly 6,000 farmers. We're now at the really exciting point in our organization's life cycle when we're going to start harvesting, processing, and selling wood. The unit economics for this from Komaza's perspective are pretty awesome. But what's really important is the value proposition to farmers is also really compelling. Now, most of our farmers live well below the rural poverty line. And in this graph, the rural poverty line is that gray bar. Just by planting 3 acres of our agroforestry mix, we can get a farmer from extreme poverty on their way into the middle class in less than a generation. Money can grow on trees. It's right here. So in 2006, I planted a little 5-acre demo farm on the coastal highway of Kilifi after doing some malaria research there. Maybe just to back up a little bit and give some background, this is part of a much larger ecosystem that is considered one of the most important on Earth for conservation. So the coastal forests of East Africa from Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania, Mozambique are all gone. The largest remaining piece is a pretty tiny speck called the Arabuko-Sokoke forest. We're planting right around it. So the trees have been chopped down. That's why we're driving to the Congo for wood. It is a monumental problem on many different levels. In 2008, we planted with 120 farmers, and every year thereafter we've grown. 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. And the little green dots for 2014 aren't up yet, but with all the wood we've planted to date, Komaza's future income has an NPV over $26 million. So this is a lot of wood in the ground. The growth plan's pretty straightforward. We're going to plant a lot more trees, and we're going to start selling wood. So we're going to be building simple wood processing infrastructure in Kilifi, serving Malindi, a pretty medium-sized city, and Mombasa, Kenya's second largest city, largest port in East Africa. And from there, we do more of the same. We're going to be planting lots of trees. We're aiming to get to 20,000 farmers with 10 million trees in the ground by 2020, at which point we'll reach profitability. From there, we're going to accelerate, reaching 50 million trees in coastal Kenya alone, which is enough to then establish industrial-scale wood processing in Mombasa. This right here is one of the leading forestry companies in East Africa. So we're on the path to get there. The economics of forestry are long-term, but insanely awesome. We need $15 million to get to cash flow break-even in 2020. That's going to generate $250 million for farmers and several $100 million for Komaza by 2030. Think of what we can do as an impact-focused company with that type of cash flow. So we right now have a convertible debt that is open and hot. Get in while you can. $1.25 million raised in the bank from some leading investors. We're looking to pull in another $500,000 to $750K. We also are in conversations with a few potential Series A investors for early 2015 to really start growing the company, put in place that wood harvesting infrastructure, and start to take it to scale. We've gotten here with some really awesome names in the industry, some fantastic support from leading social enterprise foundations, impact investors, over $4 million raised to date. And I've got a really great senior team. I was born here in the Bay Area, severe awkward science nerd in my youth, but I've been now working on Komaza for nearly a decade. I've got a rock star president, Aisha, who is a Wall Street and microfinance wizard. And we've got a great country director in Kenya with 20 years of agribusiness experience, managing a team of 125 people. That's going to grow pretty substantially as we scale. So just to sum it up, we're serving a multi-billion-dollar wood supply crisis with a truly disruptive model to grow trees at the lowest price at near infinite scale. That alone is enough to pull out checkbooks. We've got 7 years of successful operations and a lot of valuable trees in the ground. We are creating a sustainable wood supply to stop the insanely ridiculous deforestation happening on the continent. And we're building incredibly life-changing income for poor farmers, from extreme poverty on the way to the middle class, just on trees. And we're aiming to become East Africa's leading forestry company, a highly profitable business committed to long-term, large-scale impact. Thank you very much.